understanding the New Jersey State Building Code for roof decking thickness. So instead of generic roofing advice, I'm going to walk you through exactly what New Jersey's building code says about roof decking thickness, how to tell whether your contractor's recommendation is a real structural necessity or unnecessary upselling, and what you actually get when you meet code minimum versus upgrade. By the end, you'll know how to hold any contractor accountable and make a decision that protects your family's home for decades. The invisible foundation that's failing on 90% of older New Jersey homes. Most homeowners think of the shingles first, but the real structural work happens on a layer you never see. And if your home was built in the 70s or 80s, what's under your shingles may not meet today's code. Last year, we replaced a roof on a home built in 1978. The homeowner called because the shingles were curling and a few had blown off during a storm. When we pulled up the first section, we found 3/8 inch plywood spanning 24 inches between the rafters. That's much thinner than what New Jersey's current code requires. The previous contractor had installed premium architectural shingles directly over decking that couldn't hold the nails, and every windstorm was slowly pulling those nails through. This is what you need to know. It isn't rare. Homes built in the 70s and early 80s across New Jersey were often framed with thinner decking over 24-inch rafter spacing, because that's what the code allowed at the time. Since then, New Jersey adopted the 2018 International Residential Code, which requires a half-inch minimum thickness for rafters spaced 24 inches on center. Anything less won't pass inspection during a permitted roof replacement. So if your home was built before 2005, your decking may be undersized until it's verified otherwise. This isn't upselling, it's a structural reality. The code changed because thinner decking was failing under real-world conditions, and that deck is quietly carrying everything above it. Knowing your decking is likely undersized is the first piece, but there's a second trap waiting for the homeowners who fix it, and it costs them years off their roof without them ever realizing why. It comes down to one phrase your contractor will say to make you feel safe, and it's the exact phrase that should make you ask more questions. Why code minimum isn't the same as best for your home. Contractors love to say it meets code, like that's the gold standard. But New Jersey's building code sets the lowest acceptable threshold for safety, not the best long-term choice for homes in snow-load zones or coastal wind areas. Think about what minimum actually means. The code says half-inch decking over 24-inch spacing will technically support the loads and hold your nails, but technically supports and performs well over 25 years are two very different things. New Jersey sits in a real snow load zone. The northern counties see 30 to 50 pounds per square foot of ground snow load, and that can be sustained pressure on your deck for weeks at a time in January and February. Code minimum decking carries that load without collapsing, but it flexes more between the rafters, and that stresses the shingles above. This is important because our climate accelerates the wear. We have freeze-thaw cycles, high summer humidity, and poor attic ventilation in a lot of older homes. Code minimum decking has less margin for error when those conditions compound over 20 to 25 years. We've watched half-inch OSB decks installed in 2010 start to sag visibly by 2020 on poorly ventilated homes. The deck met code the day it went in, but heat, moisture, and minimal thickness forced an early replacement. Here's why this matters to your wallet. Upgrading from half-inch to 5/8 inch decking costs an extra $800 to $1,500 on a typical 2,000 square foot roof. That's about 5 to 8% of the project, but it adds roughly 25% more nail holding power. The uncomfortable truth is that most contractors default to half-inch because it's the cheapest option that passes inspection. They're not lying when they say it meets code. They're just not telling you that code is the bare minimum for a roof that has to face 25 years of New Jersey weather. So understanding the difference lets you decide instead of accepting a default. If your home has good ventilation, you're not in a high snow load area, and you're on a tight budget, half-inch decking is a defensible choice. But if you're in northern New Jersey, you have poor ventilation, or you plan to stay 25 years or more, upgrading is one of the smartest investments you'll ever make in a layer you'll never see. Code minimum protects you from catastrophic failure. Upgrading protects you from premature wear and expensive repairs. 15 years into a roof you thought would last 30. What actually happens during a code-compliant decking replacement? Most homeowners think decking replacement is just ripping out old plywood and nailing in new sheets. But a code-compliant installation involves specific fastener schedules, edge support, and inspection coordination that separate professional work from shortcuts. The key thing to understand is that there's more to it than the nailing pattern. Edge support is a requirement most crews ignore. When two panels meet between rafters instead of over one, the code requires H-clips or blocking to support that joint. Without it, the panels sag at the seam, which creates a visible line in your shingles and a stress point that wears out fast. Proper installation also calls for about an 1/8-inch gap between panels so the wood can expand and contract. Install them tightly and they'll buckle in the humid months, leaving your roof surface rippled. Here's why this matters. Improper fastening sets off a chain reaction. When the deck moves under wind load, the nails work loose. When the nails work loose, the shingles lift. When the shingles lift, water gets underneath the whole system. And by the time you notice the leak, the damage has reached the rafters and the insulation. So this is one of the few parts of a roof job you can actually watch. If you're home during installation, look at how the crew fastens the panels. Are they using the right spacing? Are they leaving expansion gaps? Are they installing edge support at the seams? A proper installation is the foundation for a roof that lasts 25 to 30 years. Shortcuts give you sagging, nail pops, and wind damage at year 12, long before your shingles have earned out their rated life. You can see the quality of the work as it happens, but the cost of getting it wrong shows up in a place most homeowners would never connect to their roof, and it's draining money out of your pocket every single month. It hides on a bill you already pay without question. The hidden energy cost of undersized or damaged decking. Most homeowners blame rising energy bills on insulation or windows, but compromised roof decking creates air leaks and lets attic heat pour in ways that cost you $40 to $60 a month without you ever seeing the source. That is important because it's common in homes where the decking was undersized from the start. Thin decking flexes more under temperature swings, which works the fasteners loose and pulls the panels apart at the seams. Over 20 years, those gaps only widen. Our climate makes it worse because we get 90-degree summers and sub-zero winters, and undersized decking moves more with every seasonal swing. Here's why this matters beyond the energy bill. Those air leaks also shorten the life of your HVAC system. Your air conditioner runs longer cycles to fight the infiltration, which wears on the compressor and the coil. And the same happens to your furnace in winter. The frustrating part is that most energy audits never catch this. They check your windows, doors, and wall insulation, but they rarely check the roof deck. Energy loss comes down to the integrity of the panels and how they hold up to moisture over time. And that raises a question every homeowner eventually faces, one that contractors turn into an argument they'll never settle for. Pick wrong for your home's conditions, and you're back to a delaminated, leaking decking years early. The difference between OSB and plywood, and why it actually matters. Contractors argue about OSB versus plywood like it's a religious debate, but the real question isn't which material is better, it's which one matches your home's framing, ventilation, and exposure. Last year, we replaced a roof on a shore home where the existing OSB decking had delaminated at the edges after 15 years of salt air and high humidity. To make matters worse, the homeowner's bathroom fans were venting moisture straight into the attic instead of outside, and the OSB couldn't handle that sustained moisture. We replaced the sheathing with CDX plywood, which holds up better in that environment, and we vented the bathroom fans out through the roof. It is important to know what these two materials are. OSB, or oriented strand board, is engineered wood made from compressed strands bonded with resin. It's uniform, stable, and costs 20 to 30% less than plywood, which is exactly why it's the default in modern construction. Plywood is made from thin wood veneers glued in alternating grain directions, so it's stronger across the grain and holds fasteners better in high wind zones, but it costs more. To put it simply, for 24-inch rafter spacing in a dry, well-ventilated attic, OSB and plywood perform nearly identical over the life of the roof. The difference shows up in the edge cases. which is exactly where that shore home lived. The hidden factor most homeowners miss is that OSB's moisture resistance depends on the resin used in the manufacturing. It performs well in normal conditions, but prolonged exposure to moisture from a leak, condensation, or poor ventilation causes the edges to swell and delaminate. And once OSB starts to delaminate, it loses structural integrity fast. So the decision should be based on your home's actual conditions, not contractor preference or material cost. If your attic has proper ventilation, you're inland, and your roof has no history of leaks, OSB is a defensible choice that meets code and performs well. But if you're within 5 miles of the coast, you have poor ventilation, or your roof has leaked before, plywood is the better long-term call. Ask your contractor which material they're quoting and why. If they default to OSB without ever discussing your ventilation or exposure, that's a sign they're optimizing for their cost, not your home's performance. That tells you how to judge the material on your roof, but none of it protects you unless you can verify what's really up there before you ever sign. And you don't need a contractor to do it for you. You need 5 minutes and a flashlight. How to verify your contractor isn't cutting corners. The 5-minute attic check. Most homeowners trust their contractor is following the building code, but you can verify it yourself with a 5-minute attic inspection before the contract is ever signed. And those 5 minutes can save you $10,000 in non-compliant work or surprise costs. So here's the check you can do yourself. Go into your attic during daylight hours with a flashlight and a tape measure. First, look for daylight coming through the roof deck. If you see pinholes of light, that is either damaged decking or improper installation. Second, measure center to center between two adjacent rafters. New Jersey homes are usually either 24 inches on center, 16 inches on center, or they may in rare cases be irregular. And that measurement helps to determine the minimum thickness the code requires. Third, look at the underside of the decking. Is it sagging between the rafters? Are there water stains, dark spots, or areas that have delaminated? The key thing to understand is what this check gives you: leverage. If a contractor quotes you for minimal decking replacement and you've already documented widespread damage or undersized decking, you can challenge that quote before you sign, instead of having the surprise cost conversation after the roof is torn off. The good contractors won't push back when you tell them you've inspected the attic yourself. They'll appreciate that you're informed. The bad ones will get defensive or try to dismiss what you found, and that's your signal to get other quotes. So before you meet with any contractors, do the 5-minute check yourself and photograph what you find: the rafter spacing, the decking type, and any area that looks compromised. When the contractors come out, tell them you've already been in the attic and share what you saw. If their estimate doesn't account for it, ask them directly.
I saw this in the attic. How are you addressing it in this quote?
That 5-minute attic inspection can be the difference between a $12,000 roof replacement and a $17,000 one full of decking surprises. If you're in New Jersey and planning a roof replacement, click the link below to schedule a professional inspection. We'll help you uncover potential issues before they become expensive surprises. And if you found this video helpful, subscribe for more roofing insights that help you make smarter decisions about your home.